I grew up in a small beach town on the East Coast. It had that cliché suburbia vibe, complete with book clubs and block parties. My sister and I were close friends with our neighbors as well, as they had a daughter, Kristen, around our age. A lot of time was spent playing together in our shared yards, at the beach down the street, and in our nearby park. It had been one summer day that my mom and Kristen's mom decided to take us to this particular park. And as per usual, as soon as we arrived, Kristen, my sister, and I raced to the swing set to claim our seats. Our moms had followed leisurely behind us, looking ahead to see if they could snag a spot in the shade. Once they picked a picnic table, they sat down and set up. They chatted and got some snacks ready for us, occasionally glancing over to make sure we hadn't fallen off the swings. The afternoon was going well. Everyone was having fun and enjoying the weather, when Kristen's mom pointed across to where we were playing. There, instead of just 3 kids swinging, there were 4.
Seems like the girls just made a friend.
She smiled at my mom as they looked at the other little girl who had just joined us. An older woman, possibly her mother, was standing off to the side as well. My mom nodded, thinking nothing of it. It was completely normal for kids to make friends at the park, and especially in an area so friendly. Besides, she found it likely that the older woman was with her and would be able to help if anything happened. They proceeded to talk for a little bit longer before my mom thought to look over again to check on us. When she glanced over to the swings, she saw Kristen, she saw my sister, but she no longer saw me. She stared for one more second as it sunk in, and then she realized the older woman was also not there. Panic washed over her, and she immediately alerted Kristen's mom. They rushed over, hoping I was just hiding behind the slide. My mom's eyes scanned over the playground, frantically trying to find me. She recalls Kristen's mom taking the other 2 girls by the hand, attempting to ask them what happened, but before either of them were able to offer any information, her eyes locked on me. The older woman had taken me by the hand and was leading me off of the playground, out of the gate, and into the parking lot. My mom began to run after her, not explaining a word, just yelling for her to stop. The woman did not pause, did not even turn around to acknowledge my mom's screams, until she was close enough to reach out and grab my one free hand. My mom immediately began to curse and question what the hell she was doing with me. The older woman began to explain how this was a misunderstanding, that she was only just walking me to the baseball field that was right across the street. Of course, this answer was completely unacceptable, and my mom was making this clear, as Kristen's mom was quickly behind catching up, coming to aid in whatever way she could. It appeared that when the older woman noticed Kristen's mom was there as backup, she let go of my hand and began to offer some semblance of an apology before hurrying to her car and quickly pulling away. It was not until after she had already gotten down the street that my mom understood 2 suspicious details, which are: 1. The direction the older woman was walking me towards her parked car, and not at all the baseball field. And 2, the other woman did not put a child in the car before she left, meaning she came to a playground of kids by herself. I often ask my mom why she didn't call the police at this moment, and honestly, she doesn't have a good answer. She tells me that it was just shock, and I'm sure part of it was, but I also think it could have been partially due to embarrassment. However, I hope it's not at all. There was no way that she could have expected this to happen, and she may have very well saved my life at that moment, and I try to make it as clear to her as I can. While I'm into my 20s now, and this happened when I was a toddler, I still think about it from time to time. At least this recounted version my mom tells. And it's fucking scary idea to think that she wouldn't have seen me in time, and that I could have had a completely different path in life. I hope this woman never actually got the chance to take any of the kids who didn't know her into her car. And if she's still out there, let's not meet. This happened about 8 years ago in my local supermarket. I, a female 36 at the time, am in the queue to pay. It's a Saturday morning, super busy, and I'm second in line. In front of me, at the till, is a family of 3. Mom, Dad, and daughter. Mom and Dad are unpacking the trolley, and daughter is sitting in the trolley seat facing me. Behind me are 2 men, and they are making me super uncomfortable standing way too close to me. You know when you feel someone before you see them? It was like that. I was facing the daughter, and she looked super uncomfortable, making herself smaller, and kept looking over her shoulder to Dad. I turned around, and these men are waving and smiling, trying to get her attention. Then the one guy reaches around me and touches her foot. He did it in such a familiar way that I thought he must know the family. She flinched away. He does it again. She quietly says,
"Daddy?"
Dad swings around and says in a booming voice, something along the lines of,
"What the hell, dude? Don't touch my daughter."
This weirdo is like,
"But we want to be friends."
Dad is like,
"I don't know you. Back off."
I realize they don't all know each other and instantly go into mommy mode. Dad goes back to unpacking the trolley, and I position myself between the 2 guys and daughter, completely blocking access. Believe it or not, he tries to get her attention again. So I say, really loudly, "You are so lucky that you have such a brave and strong daddy. Look how he's protecting you from these bad men." The dad looks at me, and we have a silent conversation with our eyes. They pack up and leave quickly. I thought it was over. The girl is safe. As I'm unpacking my trolley, I suddenly notice that one of the men has moved around and is standing at the end of the till, where you pack your groceries into bags, staring at me with pure malice. The other guy was still standing behind me in the queue, my trolley between us. I won't lie, in the moment, I felt intimidated, terrified. I'm not a small woman. I am tallish with very broad shoulders and quite strong. Side note, someone told me the other day that I am definitely not fart dust, translated from Afrikaans, but super funny, i.e., I'm not small. Anyway, my trolley is 15 kilograms of dog food. My adrenaline is pumping. I need to show this guy that I am not an easy target. I make eye contact with the aggressor at the end of the till, and I lift this bag of dog food up like it's a roll of toilet paper. My facial expression doesn't change, no strain, no tension, just deep and dark. He keeps his eye contact with me. Now I am angry. The fear has gone. I pay, and he blocks my exit from the till. I bump him light with my trolley. He laughs menacingly and moves out of the way. I decided to not go straight to my car. I walk around the mall a bit, and every time I turn around, they are there, now with the 3rd guy. They are not even hiding the fact that they are following me. The one guy makes a motion of cutting my neck. Fuck this. I started making my way to the security desk. When I get there and turn around, they are gone. I tell security everything. They recommend I let the supermarket know as well. Give them my till number so they can review the security tape above the till. A guard escorted me to my car. I drove home the long way, checking my rearview mirror constantly. I never saw them again, but to be honest, I stopped going to that supermarket. Partly because of that, but mainly their prices are not competitive, and my dogs become fussy eaters. The events here took place when I was an 11-year-old girl on vacation with my family. My mother, younger brother, and I went down to Port Elizabeth to visit family. Being the only kids present meant that we were more excited to play in the ocean than spend time indoors. My mom picked a sunny day, we packed our boogie boards, and we headed to the nearest beach with my grandma tagging along. My brother and I ran towards a set of stairs leading down to the beach. I stopped. There were eyes on me. I sensed it. Growing up in South Africa, you are taught to be vigilant, notice your surroundings, notice people especially. I looked around the crowd, trying to pinpoint what was setting my radar off. Then I found it. Two men about 20 meters in front of me, about late 20s to early 30s. They were frozen in place, staring at me with big, toothy smiles on their faces. I returned a smile and a nod, acknowledging their presence, but also making them aware that I saw them. Be friendly, not naive. Be polite, don't trust. Observing them, I felt unsettled. The crowd was moving around them. They didn't speak to one another, and they only seemed to move as I glanced away. I was alarmed, but only made a mental note to keep an eye on them, continued down the stairs, and jumped into the soft sand. My brother and I waited for the adults to pick a spot to set up before we took off swimming. Some time went by. I saw the same men from earlier wade into the water quite some distance from us, and I felt a bit silly for still worrying about them, but I just couldn't shake that uneasiness. I got out and took a rest by my mom. I didn't see the men anywhere, but the feeling of having eyes on me stayed. I chalked it up to paranoia and went back to the water after a few minutes. My brother had gotten out of the water and started digging his magnificent sand pit, so I decided to use him as a landmark to determine my position in the water while riding the waves out. I did this a few times. Suddenly, goosebumps shot up my back. I looked around, and the same men were just a few meters away from me, waving and beckoning me towards them. I was having fun up until then, and hadn't noticed them approaching. Adrenaline set in as I saw them smiling once more. Their eyes seemed blank, insincere, and out of place with those huge grins. I nervously grinned back and just shook my head at their invitation to come closer. I'm sure the fear was written all over my face, though. As if to confirm my fears of their intentions, they started towards me. I knew I wouldn't be strong enough in the water to fight, run, or swim, and nobody was close enough to hear me call out. As I was panicking, the water suddenly pulled me deeper into the sea. A big wave was coming. I placed my boogie board in a position and started paddling. I was now further into the ocean than the creeps. The wave hit when they were about 1 meter away. It took me right past them. I felt relief for a split second, and then felt a hand grabbing and yanking my ankle hard. My heart caught in my throat. I kicked out of instinct. Fortunately, being sunscreen doused, I was slippery and managed to get free instantly. The wave carried me all the way to the beach. I was coughing with a mouthful of seawater, but scampered to my feet and ran to fetch my brother. I told him I'd race him back to Mom, and he was delighted for the challenge. I glanced back from where the sea had just ejected me. The creeps were still standing where they were, still smiling and waving. I stayed at my mom's side until we finally packed up to head home. As we walked to our car, I looked over my shoulder. There they were, 2 grown men, staring, smiling, and waving at a child they had tried to grab like nothing was weird. Then they turned around and disappeared into the crowd. Yeah, let's not meet again, you smiley fucks.